Hi.
Hello, everybody. All right, so who wasn't expecting to be here?
I wasn't expecting to be here. Hi,
Uh,
Chris. You're
Chris, you're
muted.
muted.
Yeah, I said hello. We meet again.
Yeah.
Chris,
This is
you were at
interesting.
June 1st, right? I recognize your face.
No,
Ah,
I
No?
wasn't. You talking to? Yeah, no, I wasn't. I wish that would have been one amazing event.
I feel like I know you from somewhere.
this is strange. I was expecting Eve and Luke, and I wasn't expecting to be here myself.
Yeah.
I have sweaty palms.
I'm with you.
Well,
All
should
right,
we
well, let's
kick it
do,
off? Yeah.
yeah, what I've been doing in the other rounds is using a Google timer and doing a 2 minutes as I think the document suggested for opening statements. So I'm happy to run a timer and call out 2 minutes.
Thank you.
All right. Boyd, do you want to go first?
Sure. Hey guys, my name's John, and I'm the founder at Boyd.com. I'm a full stack developer. I've been building in the EOS ecosystem since the beginning, and contributor to the Vigor stablecoin. And recently, I launched the EOS PowerUp.io.
You're
And
breaking up.
if I'm elected, then the funds are developing the EOS PowerUp. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can now.
Yeah, we can now. Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm elected, the funds will go to growing the EOS PowerUp service, which is very active and has a lot of people in the community that support it.
All right, great. Ami, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Ami. I'm a software developer in Israel. I'm independent subcontractor. I work as a CTO in Israeli startup, which develops some software for cybersecurity and IT companies. I always work around IT companies. And I believe that switching to using EOS.io software as a stack of a database and backend software can just make 95% of the cyber potential issues non-issues. And that's what I'm advocating for. And I recently developed an SQL to EOS compiler, which you can write a database definition, like create table in SQL, which everybody knows in the industry. And it immediately, like in a live screen on your web browser, writes a smart contract with the same table structures that you wanted and create, read, update, delete actions for you. And the smart contract is ready to go. Of course, you want to add more non-standard interactions there, but that's a jumping point for you. Another thing I'm working on is translating the book. Can you imagine the language? Can you guess?
Hebrew. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of startups and software people in Israel, and it's a very high-tech community, and it's very concentrated because it's a very small country. So I think I need to grab people by the ear and teach them about EOS one by one. And if I get elected, I'm going to use the funds to print several hundred copies of the book, and I'm going to sell them. I'm not going to give them away because I believe that if people buy them, then they will actually read them. If they get them for free, they're not.
2 minutes.
Okay.
All right, great. Chris?
Sure. Okay, I'll be quick here. So I'm Chris Barnes. I use the same name in Twitter and in Telegram. And so I kind of been taking notes for the eating calls and putting them up in the forum. So yesterday I put up a thread on looking for projects that need representation or at least could benefit from these funds. So from that, I kind of last minute-ish, but I read through them. And so as it turns out, I'm here for the same thing John is here for, and that's to improve the EOS.io PowerUp model service. Specifically, what I liked about what John put up there. So what I'd like to see come out of this this particular election is a quick win. Like, I think this is our opportunity to prove that the Eden OS playoff system works. And not only does it work, but we actually have something that can come out of it that's concrete and tangible that affects the community immediately. Well, not maybe within a month or two. And it's great that John's here, because questions that I don't know the answers to about how it would take, what the timing and what it would take to develop this addition to the EOS Power Up product that he built, because I didn't know the answers in the previous round. So yeah, so from that thread I put up, I read what John put. I reached out to him yesterday and just basically last minute sort of said, hey, I'm going to try to represent you in this test. And if I get to the end, then I would take, we settled on the idea that 10% of the 1,000 EOS would go directly to that free Power Up model account so that it can bolster that so more people can use it for free. The other 90% or 900 EOS would go directly to paying for John's time to increase the functionality of that service to allow for the Telegram and Discord ability to power up people's account. Because what I think happens is we're going to see more people, more users of EOS come into the ecosystem and get hung up on this CPU ran out, what do I do? And if they come into Telegram and we can, it's one thing to point them to a website, that's great, it works. It's another thing if we can just right then and there type into Telegram and power up their account for them. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, okay.
All right. So I first Bitcoin in 2012. Don't, as the story goes, I don't longer have any of that Bitcoin or Litecoin. Got deep into crypto in 2017. Spent all of 2017 voraciously studying. Found Dan in March of that year, something like that, prior to launch. Watched the launch activities. Just so fascinated by the whole thing. Huge fan of Dan, studied Dan for a lot of 2017 and 18. Wrote a crypto newsletter because I kept getting on Skype to help people in my life on board with crypto, and decided rather than Skype individually, I should just write a newsletter. So I did that for a while in 2018. And then I got an unexpected invite to work for Block One, which was a dream job at the time. So flew to Virginia, started that, did that 2.5 years. I was an engineering manager for the blockchain team. The last year I was at Block One. And then when Dan resigned from Block One and started talking about what he was up to next, I was all in. I'm a politics, philosophy, economics student. I've read Dan's recommended reading lists, and for a long time before that, I'd studied economics, since losing my shirt in real estate taught me a lot about economics. So I love what's in the book. I've studied the book very deeply at this point, trying to wrap my brain around what are these ideas we're trying to represent. And in launching Eden v0.1, we have made necessary use of Power Up. So thank you for putting that together. That was critical in us launching, critical. And I would love to see this community focus on getting these ideas crystallized in people's heads around governance before we focus on EOS, because I think governance is what's most needed at the moment. All right, that's my 2 minutes.
Mike,
so what next?
Since I'm just, if you don't mind, Mike, I'm curious what you want to do with the funds. I didn't hear anything about what you actually are planning. Like, what's your objective?
So I'd like to focus it on education. Reading through the book, it's become really obvious to me that there's the process, there's the written down process that's simple and needs to be transparent, but there's also the aspects of independence and things that are much more cultural and mindset based. And I think those things need to be ingrained. I think we need to train people, like educate people. These are the things that are important for a system like this to operate and not become tyrannical. I think that's the innovation here. So education is the broad answer. And specifically in the last round, we talked about, okay, what does that look like? And my simple statement was, I would rather pull the community. I don't know. I could come up with a couple ideas, but we're already translating into other languages based on a voluntary basis or fundraising. So there's a lot of things already happening in this respect that don't require funding. So I would be curious to poll the community and just come up with the best ideas for how to spend that money on stuff that isn't otherwise going to be funded.
So you would, if winning, if you win, if we vote for you, you would take the funds and then just sort of hold it in lieu until we come up with an idea on how to spend it. Is that?
Yeah, I'd hold it. I'd run a poll, see how people think would be best to get these ideas. You know, to get more out of Dan's head is one of the ways I think about this. The book is a great start, and getting the book out there and Dan talking about the book is a big deal. But I think getting these softer aspects of, well, what do we need to think? What's the mindset that makes someone a strong participant in a community like this? We need to get those ironed out. And so I would just take a poll of how do people think that would best get done, and fund the best idea.
Okay. Any thoughts? John?
Yeah, I think polling the community is something that's really important, and it's in line with the book. And I'm thinking of educating, but more I'm thinking of my crowd is the developers, the actual software developers that can use the EOS.io infrastructure and build IT projects. And I think it's a very different aspect. It's not the Eden OS community. It's not the EOS mainnet. But I think it's going to benefit the EOS mainnet, and I think it's going to benefit the community. And there's a lot of governance aspects also, even for a private company, because you might have a large company with several franchises, and they can each be block producers, and they need to manage their blockchain and database actually, and steer it in the right direction.
Yeah, I think I would also add, so far the groups I've been in representing their ideas, they've been focused on education largely. That's been most of what the conversation is centered around. However, as my comments about PowerUp have indicated, this is such a critical feature that, and all three of you largely are coming to this group with that being your representation of the people you've met with. So I would say, now being in this conversation, it probably makes a lot of sense to split between those two focuses, education and empowering PowerUp. I think that makes a lot of sense, because without PowerUp, we can't do anything technically, and without the education, we don't get the critical pieces of governance cemented in the minds of the community.
John, do you want a chance to speak before I jump in on that point?
Yeah, I agree with everything. The practical on the ground. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, my internet is having trouble. Yeah, but the practical kind of on the ground building, the PowerUp, we need this. It's very critical part of infrastructure. And it's already proven, like, has demand, has traction, and is still growing. So I think that's important for us to fund that. And the education and translation, I hear translation coming up a lot. And I really like this idea that, like, let's not do all this stuff and then try to translate it later. Let's build it kind of multilingual from the beginning and create a culture that's very inclusive and inviting and things like that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, my takeaway from this, if the one thing you mentioned, Mike, was maybe a split. And I don't think this is the time to be splitting, just because the funds are so minimal. Like, if this was the July election and we're talking about $4 million, there is plenty of opportunity to shave that off into multiple projects and actually have something come out of it. If we start to split this, then we run the risk of having nothing to really show for it, because it's just not enough to actually do one thing and do it well. And I think the education, that's one of those topics that will be forever. That will be an enduring problem that we will always have to tackle, because education comes in many forms, and everyone has their own sort of way that they learn best, via visual, written, audio, people who are, Braille. I mean, there's all sorts of ways we could go to approach how we educate. And I feel like that's one of those larger, grand topics that hopefully from these conversations and the other recordings from the other groups, some people start to aggregate together in clusters to start to maybe put together an actual proposal that's well vetted with an OpEx and CapEx that you can take to the big show and say, here's that actual plan. Here's what it looks like. Here's where the funds will actually go. Because I'm apprehensive of the idea of ending this, selecting your preference, and then having this money, these 1,000 EOS, which is nominal, but it's still meaningful in terms of what this symbolizes as the first test Eden. To have it sort of sit in lieu and waiting for a poll, and we're not sure what we're going to do with it, that would almost feel like a failure in one way. I mean, it is consensus if that's where we end up, but it wouldn't be, I think we would lose an opportunity to show the immediate gains that we can get from this. And that's where I sort of was able to maybe convince the previous group, where one of the gentlemen had a really great point about needing marketing, and marketing is hugely missing and needed. But I felt like, and that sort of my pitch was, well, absolutely true, it's needed, similar to the education piece and the translation piece, because that also came up in my first call. One of the individuals wanted to translate, or no, that was the second, sorry. But again, those are bigger projects, and they require, it's not easy to get a win. Like, that's going to be a lot of time before something can really come of that, you can actually measure. Where if we can dedicate this 1,000 EOS, which is not a lot, immediately put it into what the community can draw from in terms of the free power up usage, which, as we've seen, is being highly used in Venezuela. So that's great for the community. It's great for EOS. It's great sort of to show what this is about. So that's part of where these funds could go. So perfect. And then the rest of it to go towards a quick win where we can, and John, correct me here, but I'm under the assumption that you could probably code this Telegram Discord bot thing in what, a month or two? Like, you have it is
Weeks. Yeah, we could have it live before the end of the month.
So right there, like, to me, that's where we out of this, now we can go to all of those who are, it's Eden thing, I don't know, I don't trust people. Well, within a month, we've come to consensus, and we've actually got something we can deliver, and then use that to market and use that to spread awareness. So for me, that was, and also I should mention some of the other preferences from my previous groups. They really wanted, it seemed to be the consensus was, we should focus this money on something that's best for Eden first, EOS second. So, and again, I think the power up piece, if we can, it isn't really for Eden, but it allows Eden to succeed and have a quick win that we can then use to advertise and to demonstrate, look, this can work, and here's what's come out of it. So we should have extra sort of trust and faith that maybe the next round, the big show for the big money, has a better chance of being accepted. Thoughts?
I'm curious. So I like the idea of a short win, a fast win. The two things I'm just curious about are, one, how would you get the knowledge of the power of service out there enough that it's just part of how people use EOS? Because if it's not just part of how people use EOS, it's like it doesn't exist. And then the other thing I'd love to hear opinion on, Power Up, I've heard, has that the Power Up resource model is insufficient. It's not quite what we would have hoped for. So I'm curious, are we investing in something that you guys think is a solid long-term solution, or is this another patch fix that would really need a follow-on later?
Well, I think you might be conflating the Power Up model, which is deployed on chain, and the EOS PowerUp.io service, which just leverages that mechanic that's in the chain. And I agree, the protocol, the Power Up protocol that's built into the chain, it's fairly difficult to wrap your head around and to work with without some wrappers, without some tools on top of it. So this is really a layer to improve the usability of that underlying protocol. I don't think that the power up protocol that's built into EOS today is going to change. I think it's here to stay. Yeah.
But with the service, that gets us somewhere materially solid for the future.
I mean, in my opinion, power up is very difficult to use without these kind of services built on top of it. I mean, it's equivalent to, imagine if you were using a Bitcoin wallet and you had to manually do the math for what
Sure.
fee you should include, right?
I'm just, what I'm asking is, the resource model, as hard as it is to use, plus the power up service, does that total solution get us somewhere that's sustainably workable? It does.
Cool. So yeah, so the power up service is part of the solution, but it's not comprehensive. So and that's why I already committed to put 20. If I'm elected, I already committed to put 20% into GrayMass to help support the tools that they've been building, because that's really the other part. That's like the other leg of the solution. So Anchor and the resource model API that they've been working, and all the SDKs and all the tools that they've built, that's really important for the user-facing wallet accessibility side of things. And the EOS Power Up, it's more for basically if you get stuck and you need a free power up, or if you're a developer or you're running, you're doing a lot of trading, you're doing a lot of resource intensive applications programmatically, the subscription service that I run is extremely.
You're chopping up there, John.
I would put 1,000 EOS to your internet connection.
Could you repeat the last sentence?
Did I cut out?
You cut
Yeah,
out
just
at
the
the
end.
very end.
sentence. Yeah.
The last sentence?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was just saying that the EOS Power Up is for like programmatic users, like heavy traders and people that are running tasks that use a lot of resources on a consistent basis. So that's what my tool is really well designed for. And then the free power ups is good, like to get people who are stuck or they're not using Anchor, right? But I leverage Anchor's technology on the back end and the stuff that GrayMass has funded. So I would put, I already committed to put 20% of the funds to GrayMass to support what they're building.
One more question, John, if you would, and then I want to come back to what Chris said to kind of knit all this together. Is there an opportunity, or is Power Up already set up this way as an API? Like, are you an abstraction layer that other services could use pretty easily, like to build into wallets so that people don't need to know about your service?
Yeah, absolutely. You could, for example, make a wallet that automatically will trigger a free power up for the user if they need it to get them like unstuck. My API is public. Actually, I was talking to someone that already did that. So.
Okay. So this could replace like GrayMass Fuel or supplement it somehow.
It's really meant as a stopgap solution. I think the GrayMass Fuel solution is much more comprehensive and yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And Mike, you had asked a bit back there, we had two questions, and one of them was about how do we spread awareness of this service. So that was where what I was going to do as my piece of the elected member. I'm not a developer by any stretch. So I was just going to do whatever I could, provide the funds to John and to the resource model, the 100 EOS, and then the rest of my commitment would be to just do whatever I can to tweet frequently and try to share, and with more emojis because I'm working on that. But to like it and get the statistics from John, because it's part of his forum post he put up who were using the free power up model, or I don't know if it was the free or just overall, but regardless, it showed a high usage in Venezuela. And so I think that's a great piece of information that people should know about, and we should be spreading more frequently. So part of my commitment was to spend more deliberate, frequent time on getting those types of graphs from John, so I could create some media content to share, maybe get some help from other people in the community who are watching this to help me do that, and then to try to share those numbers, metrics, and then through Telegram, once this bot is released, make sure that everyone knows that, hey, you can power up someone's stuck, put as a pinned message in the various EOS Telegram channels that, by the way, you can just do it right here, power up your account if you're stuck. Don't worry about going to a website and figuring out what to do because you're a noob. We can help you as a community.
So I have a suggestion then that seems to knit this together. There's enough. I'm in line with what we're talking about. Ami, do you want to say anything before I kind of run down this train of thought?
Yeah, I tend to like education. I think it's more long term. I believe that the Power Up free unstacking service is more of a stopgap. I believe that once commercial companies are going to use EOS, the mainnet, maybe voice is an example, they will take care of their users. And if noobs will want to join EOS and it will be too difficult for them, maybe they'll use just the path of voice. But I don't know when that is going to happen, but maybe the stopgap is really important right now and needed for several months.
Yeah. So here's what I would propose. Since we're in alignment, I think, on a lot of this stuff, there's just a matter of priority and specification. I would propose the short-term win, the immediate win is application to applying 1,000 EOS to Power Up. I think since we're in alignment and probably none of us care who's the actual Satoshi in this this trial election, I think we can coordinate our efforts. Chris, it sounds like you're the media side. If you're the media side of this, having the title might be leverage for you to represent this idea. And if you and John are aligned on how to allocate the EOS, maybe we can all just kind of coordinate effort and make it happen and have the representation be as credible as possible with, this is my request, my personal request, and Ami, I'm sure will align with me on this, discuss the education piece being critical. I'd want that to be part of the communication, and that we decided while that's important, it is longer term, like just to explain the nature of the conversation we've had so that that's put forefront in the minds of the people who have played this game and in the community. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I
agree with what you're saying. I'll maybe make it a little bit more formal and say that in the previous round, I was in the same room with Luke Stokes and Eve from EOS Nation and Han from the Korean EOS Korean community, and they all decided to vouch for me. And I think on the surface, a lot of people would have thought like, oh well, I think Eve is like so well known, everyone knows him, so he's going to move forward. But there was really a consensus in the group that we want Eden to be, a grassroots, like ground up, like let's get app developers, let's get people that are actually building on EOS up there, and not just the same leaders that everyone has already seen. So Eve actually made a commitment to match the funding. So he's actually going to add another 1,000 EOS to the pool, and with the stipulation that he wants part of that to go to the community matching pool, the quadratic funding solution that EOS Nation is building. So what I would propose, and also functionality that I would like to add to EOS Power Up, it basically pays for more free power ups, 20% to gray mass, and my man hours. So with this extra 1,000 EOS, did you guys catch all that?
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So with this extra 1,000 EOS, I would say that you got everyone in this group, like you guys and a few other people who are interested, should put together like a formal proposal for this kind of education / translation ecosystem, and let's make this like an official part of Eden, right? Let's make this something that's highly prioritized to have one place where all the information is available and translated as well as we can. And so I would propose to use those funds to go into the community funding pool to fund that, and also a portion of the funds to go directly to marketing and making sure that everyone is aware of EOS Power Up. For example, the top visitors to my site are from Venezuela, China, and Korea, and I haven't personally done any marketing to those communities. So that's just totally grassroots. If we if we set aside some of that matching from Eve for marketing EOS Power Up in the various communities, and hopefully you guys can help, coordinate that and connect that, I think we could really really multiply the impact of EOS Power Up by really getting the message out there to all the communities.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
if we
that's
consider
great.
ourselves the quadrumvirate to organize this effort, what do you guys think of making Chris the Satoshi and representing the effort as the speaker of it, the voice of it?
Well, the matching from Eve was based on me getting elected.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
It's interesting twist. Chris, how do you feel prior to that statement? Chris, how do you feel about the proposal?
Well, first, thank you for the vote of confidence. I appreciate your sentiment, Mike. I'm here representing John, so certainly I have no objection to voting for him and having him represented as well. So that's and if we can get the extra funds from Eve to help make this an even more successful campaign, then all for it. Yeah, I have no ego in here where I need to be a winner. I'm happy I made it this far. So
same
John,
as well. I'm here to build stuff.
John, what's your view of, would you prefer to, like, again, I'm thinking from who could leverage the actual title, the actual, like, someone's name is going to be ensconced as the one who won. Do you feel that would give you leverage with what you're building, or do you think having
I mean, the title, I think it's really just more about what is the end goal or what actually gets built. It's less about who it is. I do think, like, I'm well known in the EOS community because I've been building on EOS since the beginning. I'm very familiar with the pros and cons, and I've kind of been there and seen it all. So for me to get elected, it really is a statement. It's a statement that says Eden is not about promoting, the old guard, the BPs or whatever. It's about promoting the little guy, the guy that just wants to build on EOS, right? So that would be a good image, for Eden.
The irony of that statement, however, is that we are potentially changing our decision based on one of the BPs and the old guard's influence.
Yeah,
because
that was a concern. That was a concern of mine as well. I
wonder how flexible, because this is a strange scenario where both of us are representing kind of the same thing. Do you think Eve was very firm on it being you, John, or being you, John, your proposal? Because if it's you, your proposal, then by electing me, it still is kind of accurate. Maybe he'd still be willing.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was firm that it was me, but I agree that the spirit of, like, why he wanted to get me elected was EOS Power Up and the story, the optics.
Guys, I have a question. I think it's very disturbing to me that Eve is trying to influence us here. But I wanted to ask Chris, if Eve was not in the picture, would you be willing to be the winner? Would you be willing to represent the whole community?
Yes, I would, absolutely.
Okay with that?
Yep, I am. I would, and I almost think it's better, since I am kind of representing your work as basically John. It's almost better in a way if it's me and not you directly, because then it provides a touch of accountability for what you're about to do, right? Where I'm, of course, you're probably, well, you are more trusted in the industry. So I suppose really I'm the one who should be most suspect because I'm unknown and I'm just a dude with a Twitter handle and a Telegram chat, right? No one. So you've actually done so, but there is that where at least if you're doing the work and I'm making you accountable, it's always better to have someone verifying someone's coming through with what they said they do, right? It'd give you half the funds up front and half when it's done, type of thing, to sort of have that bit of accountability. And it's, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I don't like the idea. This is an interesting dynamic where we have an outside influencer who's sort of influencing, and with no ill intent, I'm sure. But regardless, there is some influence. So this is neat that this has come up. I almost think out of principle, we have to almost not have that become a factor. Like I think if Eve's intent is to do what's best for the community, and that 1,000 EOS really shouldn't be just predicated on you, John, winning. It should be predicated on what you stood for winning. And I think, so in that respect, it almost should be me to then test that, right? Is it the principle, is it the project that he was vouching for, or strictly you, the person?
That's a really good call. Yeah, we've talked about intent of code is law, and I think that's a really good call. You know, I think Eve is about the intent, despite how it was stated, and this would force the hand of like, well, are you going to follow through on the intent or you know, the letter of the law?
I think that it's irrespective if Eve donates the 1,000 EOS extra or not. I'm for Chris. I vote for Chris.
Cool. I vote for Chris too.
Thanks, fellas.
Chris.
I will vote for myself. John, where are you at?
I have to vote for myself, and the reason is because Eve was very clear that he wanted me to win because he agreed with everything that I said in the call. And I was in the same call with Han and Luke, like I said, and they all supported the vision. And I agree. I don't like the idea that, oh, you know, is someone just going to be able to pay their way to the top? But this isn't an example of that happening, in my opinion. So I think it might be, you know, blowing that out of proportion. So if Chris is elected, then I don't know if I can't speak for Eve, you know. But I agree. If the intention is Eve wants to support everything that I've talked about and everything that we've discussed, that he would put the money in anyways.
Yeah, I don't think any of us doubt Eve's intentions either. I mean, we all know his character and who he is in the community.
Yeah, but John, so if you voting for yourself, that means there's no winner.
No,
right?
there is 3 out of 4 is
3 out of 4.
Good enough.
Yep.
Oh, it's greater than 2/3. Ah, it is.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, good. All right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, that changes it then.
That's the ultimate test right there. Is the intention.
I think it's important, Chris, that you listen to the community, the Eden community, not the EOS outside community. I mean, because you're at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, no problem. So do you have more questions for me? I didn't really give much of my background, so maybe you guys, before you commit to your vote, do you want to know anything else about me?
I mainly want to just propose, like, we should totally have more. I said like and totally in the same sentence. That was kind of gross.
That's okay.
We should have follow-up meetings to iron this out and stay in coordination and stay in communication.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I want to say. Chris, you want to? When are we done? Are we done 35 after? Is that right? Yeah, 37 after. Okay.
We're gonna get a pop-up message.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, Chris, why don't you tell us about yourself then?
Okay, yeah, sure. So I'm a Canadian, northwest of Toronto. Been bought my first Bitcoin in 2014. Learned about, I was a maximalist from the beginning. I didn't get any Ethereum. I went to the Bitcoin Expo in Toronto in 2014 when it was basically being announced, and I still didn't buy it. I didn't like the pre-mine. I didn't like any of that. I was very much a purist on how I viewed Bitcoin. So I was a maxi for a while, and my first step away from BTC was EOS, was learning about Dan, learning about his vision, life, liberty, and property. That's something that I personally can get very much behind. I'm a Ron Paul fan, a bit of a libertarian in terms of political persuasion and hard money type of perspective or preference. So yeah, EOS was my first sort of, okay, I don't need to be a Bitcoin maxi anymore. I guess I can support this one too. So I did. And I actually met Eve and Daniel Keys at they did I guess it was EOS meetup with Thomas Cox in Toronto. They did a meetup there, and I went down and so met them there. So good for them for the work that they've put in, going the distance to be here still today. So I've been following EOS ever since. Genesis token holder, held, buying, accumulating more. Like, I'm certainly committed to the chain. Always been looking to find a way to contribute. So I do microcontrol. I can do some coding. Like I did Fortran and some Java in university. I have a degree in Earth and Atmospheric Science, and I work in renewable power generation. I was currently unemployed actually, but I was a director of solar operations. So I was in charge of a bunch of industrial size solar facilities, very much a hands-on doer kind of person. So non-digital builder, but I'm a physical builder. I do all sorts of home stuff. I mean, I'm very active and a doer, just haven't found my place in EOS yet to figure out what I can do to contribute. So I try to tweet a bit. I try to be active as I can, but it's not what I do. Like it's a learning thing, but I'm willing to learn it, and I want to learn, and I want to contribute. Like, that's why I'm here. In fact, this is an opportunity to just not only to contribute to EOS, which is certainly part of it, but what I love most about this, what Eden represents, is this idea of finding another way to select our leaders. Like, to me, society is absolutely broken at large right now, and that's what's most inspiring about this. Never mind filling my bags and all that garbage. I think this is just a really cool, entirely ingenious method of selecting our leaders and coming to consensus. So to be a part of it and to be here as potentially the guy who's going to walk away as the winner is super flattering. I'm pretty excited by that, and I will do my absolute very best to be a positive voice for what this can stand for, and help it succeed. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's my story.
So Chris, could you maybe summarize how you would spend the funds again, based on, the conversation that we've had, and, potentially let's assume that Eve believes in the vision that we're talking about here and decides to match you. How would you spend those funds?
So yeah, 2000. So I think we originally settled on, initially so you and I had agreed partially. So I'm going to stick to what I had agreed with you to even, because I had just basically Telegram messaged John, had never spoken with him before, other than I think once we were lingering on a Eden OS, one of the calls from Dan, and we chatted a bit. But so I just basically, when I pitched, hey, can I represent you? I think you suggested 10% to go towards the power up model itself, just to put funding in there for people to use. So I would suggest we stick with the 100 EOS to go to that, even though it'd be 2,000 in total potentially. So go down to 5%, put that into the power up. Then it was 900 EOS we're going to go to directly to fund your time, but that's your time. So my thought there was to give you half up front, half upon delivery, to provide some sort of accountability that you complete what you said you do. Although I zero trust issues here, but regardless, it's a good way to do it. I would try to broadcast these transactions in Telegram and Twitter, perhaps, to show, hey everybody, these 100 EOS just went to the free EOSIO account, sorry, I'm saying it wrong, EOSO power up account. So that's one transaction that can be verified. And then payments to you is, again, kind of show those as being complete. The additional 1,000 then from Eve's, because that's new, I suppose it's sort of what you had agreed upon with him. So, and you also mentioned you wanted to give some funding to Greymass to sort of pay for their services. So to be quite honest, I'm not sure about that extra 1,000. So because that was sort of outside of my original intent, and I want you to be able to. So what was the intent? You did break up a bit when you were mentioning that, something about matching the quadratic funding or something.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was that, this additional funding would go into a pool in the new funding system that EOS Nation is rolling out later this year. And then the community would decide how it's spent. And I like the education translation side. So I'd say we could try and organize that and have that ready for the community to fund, when that platform is live. That was kind of my thinking. And then spending some of that on marketing EOS Power Up in multilingual communities.
Okay, well, I'm very open to that 1,000. So we could hopefully just come to a complete consensus here on all of it. Or do we want to take some of it and give to Gray Mass, or do you want less than 900 for your time? That's all flexible.
Yeah, I think that's a small detail. Well, I guess we should make sure we finalize it.
I think it's best we settle now, and then I'm accountable, right? So if we settle on numbers now, then I am gonna put my word that that's how it's done. So 100 EOS goes to the actual Power Up fund, and then would it straight 1,000 or less to go to the quadratic?
Chris, I think you don't need to get into those details. And I think Mike's suggestion was that we would meet again on a regular basis, so we can take it later and talk about these details.
Yeah, I've created a Telegram channel for this, and you're not being voted in for specifically how you'll spend. We're voting you to represent us. So I think we can all agree to continue to chat, meet as needed over the next couple of days, iron this out, and go from there. Is everybody aligned with that?
Yeah. If you guys trust me, in the end, I'm the one who'll have funds deposited to my account. So if you trust me that I will be honorable, and which I'm giving my word I will, look to the camera, I promise I will do what I say I'm going to do, then yeah, that's fine with me.
Awesome. Shall we call it there then? You guys all do have a Telegram group if you look for the board. Dan has been calling this level 2 the board.
Okay.
We can chat there.
Awesome.
It's been awesome, guys. This whole process has been awesome, but this conversation has just been incredible. So thanks.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Being you and getting here.
Right on.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Go EOS. Go EOS.
Go EOS.
Go Eden OS. That's right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.